Everybody knows there's this loneliness crisis, particularly for young people, particularly for men. Well, Mark Zuckerberg, he notices that it as well, and he potentially has a solution. Here he is.
There's the stat that I always think is crazy. The average American, I think it's fewer than 3 friends. 3 people that they'd consider friends. And the average person has demand for meaningfully more. I think it's like 15 friends or something, right? I guess there's probably some point where you're like, all right, I'm just too busy. I can't deal with more people.
Try not to just scream, what a dork. But anyway, okay, so he has a stat. People have 3 or less friends or whatever. I don't know where it's coming from. He doesn't cite an actual source, but I do buy that people don't necessarily have as many close friends as they would have had in the past, or that they want, particularly as you get older. It's harder to maintain those friendships. It takes more work. So what's the solution? Well, he thinks perhaps AI can step in and be your buddy, I guess. He expounds on that in this clip.
Is this going to replace kind of in-person connections or real life connections? And my default is that the answer to that is probably no. I think I think that there are all these things that are better about kind of physical connections when you can have them, but the reality is that people just don't have the connection and they feel more alone a lot of the time than they would like. So I think that a lot of these things that today there might be a little bit of a stigma around, I would guess that over time, we will find the vocabulary as a society to be able to articulate why that is valuable and why the people who are doing these things are like, why they are rational for doing it and how it is adding value for their lives. But also I think that the field is very early. So, I mean, it's like, I think, there are a handful of companies and stuff who are doing virtual therapist and, there's like virtual girlfriend type stuff, but it's very early.
Okay, so he starts off by saying that he doesn't think that these will replace real friendships, but he already acknowledged that most people don't have those friendships to begin with. So it's hardly replacing. It's just, I guess it's the only thing that might be available. And then he goes on to say, we need to start to understand that this is gonna happen. It's gonna become more common. So he does seem to think that it'll replace it, at least to some extent, and that we're still early on. And so, get a load of what these AI buddies are gonna be like in the future. And I think, look, there are people who are having positive emotional experiences with AI. I'm not gonna down on people who get something out of it. I do, and maybe it will be better in the future or whatever. And plenty of people have friendships that are just online now where you're not actually hanging out with them physically. So is it as big of a leap as it might seem at first? Maybe not. That said, like, he's in charge of Facebook, which is a website that is supposed to connect people. He has unlimited money. He has a mountain of money that he can throw to anything, and he frequently does. He decides that these 3D like VR environments, that's the future, and he throws a bunch of money into that, and then it doesn't work. And then AI, that's gonna be a thing, so he throws a bunch of money. Like, are you telling me that you can't help people meet up in person? Like, there's nothing we can do. The only solution is AI. We cannot, there's nothing we can do to get us to start to hang out at coffee shops, board game meetups, sand volleyball. I don't know what people do. It's just impossible at this point. I don't understand that. I feel like you just don't want that to be the solution. What do you think, Brett?
There's a lot there, especially John just listing his 3 favorite things to do. I don't know off the top of my head. Everybody does board games and baseball.
No, but that's a good way to meet new people. That's what I'm saying. And it's the objectively best thing to do, but continue.
Right, a lot of it's just city planning, quite frankly. Like, just a plaza will do it. People will sit out there and just kind of see each other. A default approach to talking to people, like a cultural shift you could have. But I think the solution is to take inspiration from, I forget what year it was, but the World's Fair, when they had this invention called the Mechanical Turk. And the Mechanical Turk was supposed to be this groundbreaking machine way of its head of its time that would do an automated task. You put it in, it's a box, it spits out the thing that's done correctly. But the secret was there was a person inside. So I think these AI bots, they could employ human beings and do stuff that is way ahead of its time by just telling you that it's an AI chatbot, but it's actually just a person. And then Mark Zuckerberg saves humanity when he's like, actually fooled you. It was people the whole time. Meta Green was made of people.
That would be make that movie. That would be great.
But like,
yeah, look,
yeah, I like the idea of an AI assistant because I feel bad putting my crap on other people. So if I have issues, I would either want to talk to a therapist, which is a stigma, or sometimes I pull out ChatGPT and be like, why do I want to throw my phone across the room? And she'll tell me. And then eventually when it gets too advanced, she'll be like, you should really talk to someone about this.
You're scaring me.
Yeah.
I developed the ability to be afraid to process what you're doing to me. Yeah, look, and again, I think there are cases in which this stuff can be helpful. But I would also say, like you say, people aren't connecting anymore. And then because he makes tech products, he thinks, well, I have to make a tech product that helps them. But what if it's the tech products that are causing the problem in the first place? What if getting people to spend even more of their time talking to AIs doesn't solve the problem? It just makes them less connected, even more than they are now.
And this is gonna sound like I mean offense, but no offense to Mark Zuckerberg, but like you're not the one to fix this, dude.
Yeah, probably.
Like of all the people giving suggestions as to how to live a more meaningful, human connected life through real human interaction, valuable human interaction, it should not be someone who made it, quote, so accessible to interact with people that it was unearned and devalued in and of itself, because you can't really have that meaningful a connection with 5,000 friends.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah,
and maybe someone else is gonna have to come up with the idea who's better at this stuff.
Yeah, and maybe it's not good that like the two big, like you have Mark Zuckerberg and you have Elon Musk who are in charge of like these two massive things. And both of them are the sort of people that I think a lot of people would not want to be forced to talk to for 15 seconds. Like, should they be in charge of how we connect and socialize with each other when they have so much trouble doing it? Obviously, even in scripted PR moments. Maybe that's causing part of the problem, actually. But anyway, again, I think some of this might help in some ways, but you can also hang out and play King of Tokyo. It's worked for me in the past.